got it. Okay. Thank you, Grania. Thank you, Sprint, for hosting us all, even people from outside of Sprint. The title of my presentation of tonight is Systemic Art Therapy, a Creative Toolbox for Individuals, Families, and Couples. I am Dutch. I come from Holland. I lived, worked, and studied in Holland, in the US, and arrived 30 years ago in Paris. I have a fine arts degree in design. I have a master's degree in interior architecture. So I started in the applied arts corner. Then I switched to art therapy 18 years ago. I have a degree of the INECAT Private School of Paris, but I felt limited by art therapy as well. So I decided to go for a master's degree at Paris 8 University in systemic family therapy. I was lucky to find this book, which is in Dutch, from Frans Belen, which is called Gezinscreatieve Therapie, which is Family Creative Therapy. It is systemic therapy by an art therapist. The book is written as parent support, doing therapy with families with young children, which is not necessarily my only public. I work a lot with couples and adults and families, sometimes families with adults' children. So they have very pragmatic exercises in the book, and I made my own sauce and added other propositions which I use in systemic art therapy with families. I work in an institution, a CESAT institution, with children with severe behavioral issues. I also work in a prevention program with families with young children up to 6 years. And I will soon be working in a reintegration program with long-term unemployed having health issues. So this is a talk about tools, and when I've had a surprising amount of dads calling me, fathers. My daughter, my son has this problem. Could you please take him or her in therapy? And at that point, I ask how old they are, if the child has gone through a trauma which is clearly just related to him, or if it is difficult to understand what is going on. And when they say, well, we don't really understand, but I say, well, if he is suffering, then most likely all of you are suffering in the family, don't you? And they usually say yes. So then I try to see if they are open to come into therapy as a family with all the siblings, if they are. And I tell them, parents and the family are my best tools. I need you to do family, to help your child. I will start with the art therapy approach. I'm going to share my screen. Going to the first slide. Okay. This is a slide of an adult, young woman in therapy who is quite depressed, who has taken care of her 2 younger brothers, and she literally said, I protected my brothers against my parents. It's very hard for her to establish a place for herself. And this is like a trace, the print of her hand in plaster, bandage. And it's when you work with your print, you become visible for the therapist, for yourself. Art therapy is called creative therapy in Holland, in Germany. It's not at all about art, not for me. Sometimes it emerges, but it's not the goal of art therapy. So we call it creative therapy. And sometimes it is about anger, about having to break, about having to meet something hard before then being able to perhaps glue parts together and unify things. Sometimes things emerge that are nice to look at. For some, not always for everyone. This is a young lady who is having difficulty in believing in herself as an intelligent person, and she often broke off her projects, got into therapy, and this is towards the end of the therapy, and it was like reinforcing, showing the growth that she had gone through and the change that she'd gone through. So this was for her a logical way to end the therapy. Art therapy, art materials are also used in family work. This is an arm-eating monster. This is vegetable modeling clay, very easy stuff, by a boy who has morbid ideas and who has problems with his fellow students at school. This was a charcoal drawing made by a child during family therapy. It is very rich to have children, even very small children, present in family therapy. They can put into color or shape the emotions that the parents go through. So for me, it can be an indication that a parent is in trouble because it comes out of the charcoal crayon of the child. There are also moments where, for example, a child climbs onto the lap of the parent or hangs almost over the parent. And this is often a sign that the parent is in difficulty, that it might be very difficult for the parent to come into therapy. And this was a mother who was talking about the problems that she had had with her own siblings. And this is what the boy scribbled. When I work with families, I do not offer the same materials as I do in individual therapy. In individual therapy, there can be ink, there can be paint, there can be clay, there can be things that need attention and that need cleaning afterwards. When I have a family, I need to be able to connect with everyone, to hear what they say, to see more or less what they do, what their interactions are. So the materials I typically put on the table are dry and easy. This was after a very heavy family session. The family sessions last about an hour and a half. And sometimes when it's been intense, I propose towards the end of the session that everyone chooses materials and just let go with your hands. See what your hands want, not necessarily your head, but the touching. The drawings can sometimes have words. They can tell me things, they can tell the family things. This is a drawing of a boy of 7 or 8 years old. He asked if he could sit on the floor and draw. And his father said, "No, you can't." And I was like, well, if that is where he needs to sit to draw, I agree. So please sit and draw where you want. The place in the therapy in the office is very important. Distance between me and family members can be very different. When it's pure art therapy, I am not sitting opposite them. I'm sitting at an angle of 90 degrees so that I can have my view go elsewhere and have them work quietly. And we can talk about the work, which is kind of in between us. This boy talks about nice things and difficult things, about his mother running after him, his mother being angry. But he also tells about his beautiful haircut, which is here. But when I see parts like this, I think, oh, it's difficult. It's really difficult for several family members. This family came for their girl, for his older sister. This is a drawing of a girl of 7 who comes in. In fact, the father called me. Could you please work with my daughter? She has very black thoughts. She's telling us that she doesn't know if she wants to continue to live. This is elementary school. And they come in with their daughter, and the parents are in conflict. I look at where people position themselves when they sit down. The girl was seated opposite me, dad to the left, mother to the right. And they were barely talking directly with each other. They were talking to me, but they were also talking through the girl. These were parents that were accusing each other of the reasons of the fights. These fights happen in presence of the child. So when you look at the drawing, there's a cat, there's the word silly, the cat is not really laughing, and there are these red curls that are not very quiet, and there are 2 hearts. Her heart goes out to the 2 parents. After 3 sessions, I proposed to the parents to come without the child, and the father said, yes, I agree. And since then we are doing couple therapy, coming back every now and then to the child. And it's not impossible that there will be other sessions again with the child present, but there's a big conflict in the couple, and they are open to address it, which I find very courageous. One needs courage sometimes to come into therapy. This is one of the tools that I've used for quite a while now. This is where I'm working at the CESAD institution with the kids having behavioral issues, often very dysfunctional families, sometimes with parents that are psychotic. This is a boy who was not doing well. And I said, well, would you like to have a tent? And he said, yes. He did not want to help. He just wanted to be inside the tent. He's asked it 3 times, and in the tent, he can quiet down. He has a mother with borderline personality disorder. She really suffers from it. She also got cancer last year, but she's doing well now. But she lives alone with this last child in a very fusional relationship. And one time he stayed in the tent and then pulled off one cloth and just laid on the floor for a quarter of an hour without exchanging a word with me. And in French, I would like to say, but I wouldn't know how to say that in English. Je lui ai foutu la paix. I just left him in peace, because his mother, most likely at home, is just on his back. So this is a tool that one can offer to children that need protection or that need to be quiet. Okay, let me go further. This is the inside of the tent. The tents are sometimes used by the children for a moment of regression in which they ask for water. So I give them a bowl, I give them water. I ask if they want soap and a straw, and they start making bubbles. And these can be kids of 8, 9 years old, and it doesn't matter. Sometimes regression is really good to get down to a point where repair needs to be done. This is also work that was done at the CESAD. This is a boy of 13 years old who cannot read nor write. He lives in a family with a psychotic mother, with 2 sisters and his twin brother in a 2-room apartment. Very small, very tight. The twin brother, has learning difficulties, issues as well, but not as severe as the boy that comes into art therapy at the CESAD. Long work with the mother, who finally, without getting a children's judge into the picture, agreed to have her 2 sons placed in an ITEP, which is like an internal school type place with a lot of other caretakers. So it was really a good place for him to go to. But he is very anxious about his mother, who, because the older daughters were leaving home as well. Sometimes kids are not disponible, are not capable of learning because they are so preoccupied about what is going on at home. By making this shelter, I think that he explored the near future of him being placed away into a new home. He did it twice, and he made a second shelter with a second figure, which most likely was his brother, but he was incapable of talking about what he was doing. This is also at the CESAD, a boy whose brother is already going to a psychiatric hospital during the day, an hôpital de jour. He was not feeling well this day, and I said, would you like to be inside a tent? He said, yes. The whole family is addicted to screens. The boy had very little capacities to do things with his hands. So I made the tent. I have a crochet, I have hooks here and there, a cable, laundry pins. It's very quickly mounted. And he put himself into the far corner here, there, with his back against the corner. And it turns out that his brother had made a photograph of him while he was taking a shower, so nude, and put it on social media. So the tent can express lots of things. Okay, now I'm going to the systemic approach. Okay, I don't know if I can get this away. No. The systemic approach considers that the person exists thanks to all the other people around. We are animals. We are social animals. We need people around in order not to become depressed. And the way systemic therapists look at the individual is that we consider all the systems that the person is part of. So this is the family we grew up in. This is also the family of our father, the family of our mother, if we knew both parents, and perhaps even the thought of parents if we haven't grown up with them. It's also the friends, all the social contacts that we have. It's the work for the parents, it's the colleagues, it's the sport, it's the school. Sometimes it's the church or yoga, and it's also the therapist. We are all resource groups that make that the family is functioning the way it is. When parents come to me, so I'm sorry for those who have seen my presentation in 2020, there are a couple of slides that I'm using again. This is the communicating vessels. This could be seen as a family that is doing relatively well. All people of the family are connected. I sometimes talk to the families about this communicating vessel system. Sometimes I have the family draw it, and sometimes it's me who draws it for them. So family is quiet, but something happens. And it's as if there's like bubbles, gas coming into the water. This makes that the pressure in the bottles is mounting, and the volume of the water with the bubbles is mounting. Now, adults tend to have corks on their bottles. They have learned to regulate their emotions. Some children do too, but some children don't. So when something is going on emotionally in the family, there can be the child who hasn't learned yet to have its cork that goes BAM! That child is often the one that brings in the family in therapy. And when the therapeutic relationship is good enough with the parents, I can thank the child for having brought in his family, and we slowly work on the family and the child itself, and sometimes the parent, about not seeing themselves as bad, but seeing themselves as the one who got the family into working and into getting to move again to something that functions better. In families, we can like subdivide them into different groups, although it's a continuum. There are families that are functioning healthy enough. They have relationships inside the family. They have relationships with the outside of the family. Then there are families where all attention goes inside the family, and we'll see it afterwards in a genogram. And the reason why, because there are always reasons. So that we call the enmeshed family. In Holland, they call it the ball of wool. It's like the one that's where the thread goes around, and you can't look inside the ball of wool because it's so tight. Then there are disengaged families, where within the family there is no real contact, and most social resourcing comes from outside. When I start with families, it can be very different. No, I'm going to go to seeing each other. Okay. The systemic approach teaches that there is a reason for all behavior, for all interactions in families, whether they are well enough functioning or dysfunctioning. There are reasons, but we don't always know them, and when we know them, it's not necessarily complete, and we don't necessarily understand. But there is a reason for every act, even if the act is looked at as negative. There is no judgment. There are no good people. There are no bad people. We are somewhere in between. We are human. But this does not mean that the therapist and that everyone needs to accept all acts. So we make a difference between the person who he is. Every person deserves love, but we do not agree with what everyone does. Okay, so now I will go to the next slide. This is the start with a family of which the father calls me to ask if I can take his daughter in therapy. The daughter is depressed, has suicidal thoughts. But when I have the father on the phone, I tell him that this is very heavy for the parents, for the family to know, and that probably everyone is suffering from it. He confirms it, and they decide to come into family therapy. When a family has trouble talking about what is going on, the reason for the therapy, I can have the circular presentation going on. The circular presentation is like a surprise for most families. So it kind of puts them in a different mode than they are used to. The circular presentation can be done verbally. It can be done in a drawing. The drawing can be figuratively or abstract, and it can also be done in a list of words, of items. This family looked particularly fragile, I'd say. So I tried to even lower the resistance, and I proposed everyone to. I'm sorry. No, I'm going to continue. That was another family. So in this family, it's the mother who is presenting the daughter with the suicidal thoughts. And she makes a whole list of her qualities, but is incapable of talking about the difficulties of her daughter. The father is presenting the son, who has math qualities, who is very nice with animals, with nature, he has humor, etc. And he is a very, very sociable and a warm person. This is the son making a creation about the father, and he says, Dad has a lot of ideas. That's this part. But what I also see is that Dad is not smiling. It's not a happy face as can appear in therapy. Okay, this I will go out. I am toggling between seeing each other and images, so that's a little bit more lively. If you want to stay on video, thank you. With this family that I've only seen 5 times because they were moving across Atlantic, the demand of the family that I work with the daughter was so strong that I agreed on having a last session before the move, just with the daughter. And that is when the daughter tells me that one of the parents has lost 2 parents, and that nothing has been done about it. The family is dispatched over different parts in the world, and the ceremony for the disappearance of these 2 cherished people has not yet had place. So the daughter is doing better, but the family will have to face a kind of frozen family situation. And they say that they will look for a therapist overseas. I will now start talking about the next tool, the aquarium. And it's a tool that I use as an observation session. When I know the parents well enough, I tell the parents that it can help me to observe them. I really am very little present, but I prepare the parents for the observation session so that they can assure the frame, also in the shape of the creation, and guide their children. And that is not always easy. Before the session, the one session before, I show the parents that I have a box. They choose their box. They choose the materials that they like. I ask them what they like doing, what they don't like doing, so that the parents feel safe when we start this observation session. The thing that we worked out is that the family makes an aquarium where everyone makes his fish, and the parents decide what decoration the children will make. The mother takes care of the box. The father has taken care of the bottom, the green bottom and the blue background. The son is doing exactly what he is being asked, decoration. So he makes the algae. But the daughter makes her fish. She's only 3 years old, almost 4. But the fish is occupying almost the entire box. And it's not just in this observation session that she presents herself this way. This is a family with heavy issues. And the daughter, I think, is trying to help the parents not to be too much visible there. It's as if she makes a shield between the therapist and the family. The mother is a social worker. Let me get back to seeing each other again. The mother is a social worker. She took care of her younger brother, the baby brother, when she was 5. In the sessions, the family sessions, the mother tries to control almost everything. And this we understood when she explained that at 5 years old, she took care of her baby brother when her mother went into the psychiatric hospital. The mother is an incest victim, and we suspect that the mother that I receive in the atelier has been incested as well. So it's a very heavy problematic. They are very courageous. What I observed during the session is that the father is almost invisible, and the mother is trying to control things, but both parents forget the children. So we do other sessions with simpler propositions sometimes, and they are growing. Okay, going to share the screen again. Next proposition that I can give to families is the house. This is a family with an explosive situation at home. The brother is violent, physically violent. He is 13 years old. His sister is 7. He hits her. He is incapable of controlling himself. And when he does so, the father hits his son. And the mother, who is visually impaired, she almost doesn't see anything, feels very scared and is desperate. So they come into therapy. And when the parents, when I have the first session with the parents alone, the father tells me that he has been abused as a 5-year-old boy by the son of their babysitter when he was a boy. But that's not the main issue why they are coming. They are coming for the son who has atypical behaviors, difficult for the sister, but also difficult in school. They have trouble also having the boy and the girl be in their own bedroom. They are looking for, I propose something that the family likes to do, a subject that they like to do, in which the parents can assure the envelope and the kids can do the elements inside. And they've worked on it for 3 sessions with different stages. So this is the children are working on the furniture. The parents are working on the openings and the doors and the windows. Then they decide that there's not enough space. So they want space upstairs. They want a first floor. The parents make the roof. And who is going to be in the upper space? And the son immediately says, me. And the sister says, and so he said, well, you know, your sister needs space too, which is very difficult for him. The boy succeeds in letting, in the end, his sister have the space, but it's really difficult. But he does it, so we give him compliments that he has done something that is really difficult for him. We work on the cognitive behavioral circle. We work on becoming aware why, on which occasions there are these explosions of violence. And the son also tells us that he is feeling really not well. And at one point, his mother sees that he's been cutting the inside of his wrist. Not seriously, but it is. They are taking it very seriously. She asks the son if he wants to talk about it, which is very difficult. But while he does so, he's really not looking at anyone. So I share what I observe with the parents. They have thought about the possibility of the son being in the autism spectrum. They did go to a CMP, a psychological medical center, French. And what the therapists proposed was to do psychotherapy with the parents. psychoanalysis. And they said, no, we're here for our son. And so they stopped. They just gave up in the French system. But they do agree that there are several aspects of his behavior that are exceptional. And they do agree on going for a diagnosis. In the meantime, let me see where I am with the slides. The children are each making their bedroom, but I'm not succeeding in getting the aggressive moments be reduced in the family. So I talk about this with my supervisor, and she says, why don't you try the family sculpture? But before I go to the family sculpture, the son makes his father and his mother in their bedroom. And when you look at this, they've left the house, another session in the office, and I've seen the parents alone. And I've asked the parents, look at this personage. You, the father, you have been abused. Does your son know? I said, well, he is 13. Sexuality is going to be an important issue. So I worked with the parents. We worked with them. And finally, the father was able to talk about what happened to him in a family session. Now, what happened with the son is that he did get a diagnosis of Asperger syndrome. So my therapy, the systemic family is usually not practiced with people that are psychotic or people that are in the autism spectrum, because it's not adapted. But what my therapy helped the family in is to face other subjects, also with the enlarged family, the family of the mother, the family of the father. So that part, family therapy, systemic family therapy, did work for them. The boys' college reacted very well, the high school. So the family is doing very well. They have a psychologist coming at home, specialized in the spectrum, who works with both children and helps the parents in how to react when their son has a crisis and how to accompany him. Okay.
Just time-wise, it's 18 minutes past. That's just information, okay? Just information.
Yes, I'll have to go much faster. Okay. The house we did. Family sculpture. Family sculpture is done with the people's bodies. Every family member gets a time to put the other family members in a position. And this can liberate a feeling about the family that the family so far has been incapable of giving words to or giving drawings to. Now, this is the boy we just talked about. He put himself, this is the boy's scene. He put himself on the floor with his knees much closer by, but I can't do that with these mannequins. This is his father who is about to hit him. This is his daughter. This is their daughter, his sister, who is standing back, not being able to do anything. And the mother is sitting here and she's very scared. Body sculptures are very interesting. But when I don't have the family and I have individual therapy or couple therapy, you can use any figure that you find that can have people talk when they don't know where to start or when they don't know what they feel. Sometimes these figures can help them find their emotions. Now these are Playmobiles. This is individual therapy, systemic individual therapy. A young woman who had anorexia nervosa when she was younger, who came out of that, but she still can say things, and she has a fantastic job, very important job, but she can still say things like, when I need to give this big talk, I feel that I'm a failure, and we work on this. what I'm working on with her is the inner child. She took care psychologically of her brother and was described as an angel when she was a child. So this is a well sibling. This is the child who doesn't make waves in the family because the parents are so fragile that the child feels that it can't. But the inner child is still so active in her that we've put the adult person that she is now into the adult Playmobil, and this symbolizes the inner child, and I stimulate them to have them talk. So she, at a certain moment, made the child, the inner child, say to her adult person, no, the other way around. It's the adult who is thanking the inner child, saying, thank you for the hard work when you were so small. To which the child replies to the adult of today, and it's not necessary anymore today. So she says a couple of things, and then I say, well, is there something else that you would like them to do or say? And this is how she ended. Okay, now I go to places in the nuclear family. Genograms come later, and we draw people on one big sheet, but to understand where a couple, where individuals in a couple come from, and where their behavior comes from, I have them cut out squares for men and circles for women. And this man is suffering from anxiety, and so is their daughter. So he makes his family, and I said, well, where are you? I forgot. Okay. And I said, well, why are these two brothers smaller? Because they died. Okay, that might explain why in the womb of your mother already there was anxiety, because she'd had two dead-born babies before you. Yes, he says, and my mother's mother died also when she was 10. And then you see why their child is suffering from anxiety. Anxiety is like transmitted to the child in the arms when the child is a baby. And the father's story is really confirming that. Then we go to the relationships within the family, and it turns out that for the family, the father is a bad man, and my client is mommy's preferred child. Even today, his relationship is still stronger with his mom than with his wife. And then you can see how the basic family structure that you grew up into can still be like a break, can be a barrier to engage in a new adult relationship. So this is what we are working on, because I can help them slide and say, well, the father goes more to a child position and you are being the favorite child, which is not a favor at all. You are closer to the adult level. Genograms can be talking when people, I worked with a boy. Please work with our boy. He's hiding all the time. It turns out that the boy didn't understand who was his brother, his half-brother. And when I tell the parents this, I said, well, maybe you should make a genogram so he understands who is who in the family, because this family didn't talk about the other family members. 2 Jewish families, mom and dad, hidden, resistance, never talked about. The boy, before starting the genogram, was incapable of sitting on his chair. He was hiding behind it. And when we started to talk about this, he sat down. And when his father started to talk about the 4 generations of jewelers, of which he is one, the boy got up, took a marker, and wrote down Deuxième Guerre mondiale, Second World War. And when the father, who is a depressed person, started to talk with pride about the jeweler's tradition in his family, the boy drew all rings to the 4 men who'd been jewelers. So the genogram is not just for finding difficult stuff in the family. It can also put value to qualities in the family. Okay. This is a family with many children who died at a young age. It's an enmeshed family. And when you understand that the mother had the first sibling die, that the father of the father, so the grandfathers of the kids who have nightmares, that family had 2 first children who died very young, baby, that their own son, their first son, nearly died of an infection in the hospital. You understand why parents have trouble letting their kids go out, because life can take lives of children. So we worked with this family on opening up, going back to resource people from before, when the parents were still young. In fact, they did have lots of friends when they were students. So have them open up, go back to social contacts, because if you want to feed your family, you need people from outside. Then the last genogram, this is the family with twins. Incredible. Firstborn, 2 firstborns, twins, both died. Then there's the second child who died, and again, twins, of whom 1 died. This is the grandparent level. The father was a twin, of which 1 died in the womb. Similar for the mother. So I'm talking about them, the parents being in the womb of their parents. And then it turns out that the boy also had a twin sister. And he didn't know. And he said, I would have liked to have that sister. So genograms can really bring things alive, so that the family is moving again, becomes alive again. This family is in trouble, but does not blame its children, because I do get families where the position of the symptom child, the scapegoat child, is so important for the survival of the family that I do not succeed in opening the family up. Okay, I'll go faster, showing you slides of parent-child work when parents are separated and not on good terms. The child reacted very rather provocatively with her father, who is not really available for the daughter. He is ill. He is seriously ill. The mother was putting much more borders, limits to the girl, so the girl was more quiet. And this is a scene of the bottom of the sea, although the daughter still did add the airplanes, which is fine. These are algae floating in the water. And then I'm going to a family with an atypical daughter, teenage daughter, in great difficulty, depressed, not really accepted by fellow students at high school. Atypical behavior, strange answers. When the parents aren't there, because the parents insist that I do therapy sessions with just the children, the girl talks about her suffering, about her isolation, about really deep difficulty. The family is fighting a lot. They typically come by car into the session saying, oh, we had another fight and this and that, up to one session where the mother said, I want something nice for my family. We fight so much, we should do something nice. So I said, what is a subject that you are all happy with? The beach. So they make a beach, cardboard, paper. The mother, who is a mother who did not give me back the sheet with basic information about the family. She is very, very controlling. Probably because if she doesn't, she might slide into a very deep depression or something else. I mean, these are all survival mechanisms. and we will have to do with it. So she builds the beach while the boy has made the sun, and on the side is the girl. Then everyone puts his figure in the beach scene, and the girl has made very small chairs, chaises longues. So the father and the mother need to make very small people. The son positions himself in the water, watching, looking towards the parents. This is the girl. She looks away from the family, which is not being recognized by the family. The therapy stopped. Maybe because they were not ready, maybe because I wasn't the right person for this family, because it is and will always stay work between people. Maybe with this therapy, a co-therapist would have been helpful, which I do not have. Sometimes it is helpful to have one therapist who can be the bad person for the family, and then one person who gets the positive projection of the family. So unfortunately, this therapy stopped. I will not go into the family shield very briefly. This can be helpful for couples who do not know where they want to go to with their couple, but it can also be nice for people towards the second part or the end of the therapy, where they have not yet projected themselves into future projects. And it's done in 5 parts with at the end a family motto. And this client wrote enough. And I was like, enough? She said, yeah, you have taught me that I'm good enough, that things can be enough, that I don't need to go to my limits all the time. Okay, I said, but what could be your family motto? And it is go forth and venture. So a nice end of the therapy. This is another one of parents who project themselves into the kids, taking distance of their parents and them finding themselves, their partner back around a fire with a nice glass of wine. These are indications for systemic art therapy, a whole list. I have added to the 2020 document that there can be loud symptoms in children or unnoticed children. These are often the ones that need at least as much help as the symptom child. There can be families with cutoffs where family members, there's no contact with them anymore. Couples come sometimes in with intimacy issues related to what happened when they were a child or to even further back in generations. And I also can work with adult sibling groups. For the rest, it's more or less what I presented in 2020. This is my last slide. I have my private practice in the 18th arrondissement. I'm very lucky. It's a big space, which is very nice with Corona. So there's my mail address, my site. And it's time for questions.
Thank you very, very much, Els. That was absolutely fabulous. I even got a couple of direct messages to tell me that, wow, you're doing really a fabulous job. There were a couple of questions that were already on the message board that I'm going to read first, and then we'll leave it open to people who haven't offered a question yet. So Kimberly has asked, do you always start with first sessions, perhaps after the observation session, with finding out what helps parents or families to feel safe? And do you use grounding techniques?
No, I do not use grounding techniques. I'm writing it down. Thank you. I am planning on doing a rapid eye movement study, because I do have clients with trauma, and I think that could be helpful to have the rapid eye movement treatment integrated in a therapy where there's enough security. No, I do not have a typical starting session. Not all. Sometimes the families just come, or couples come, and they say, we need help for this. So then you can just go for it.
You did say that you have a questionnaire that a parent didn't fill in? Is that
Okay,
something you
that is
offer in
where they
advance?
live, their age, if the kids live with both parents, if the parents are separated, if there's like alternated care, very practical things. I do not do, oh, there's a word for it. I do not have a whole list of questions of how was the pregnancy of your child, etc. No, I don't do that.
Okay. There's another question here. Do you explain how genograms work, or how they might be drawn to families that may not be certain about it?
Yes, yes, yes. Which I didn't do, but I will now if you are interested. Because I'm, is it showing? Is it sharing or not? No.
No, not yet.
No, I'm okay. Yep. Now it's sharing. Isn't it? Do you see the genogram? Yep. Okay. In this genogram, I still was applying what the systemic school of Palo Alto applied, the older people up and the younger people down. I have changed that. I will show it afterwards. When there is a couple, everyone, females are circles, males are squares. When they are married, you draw a double line. When they are divorced, you draw a double slash. There can be relationships where people are not married and where they are separated, and you just give a simple line. When there are, a genogram is also there to show, to make visual the relationships. For example, here, this is a conflictual relationship. These are very close relationships, quite a bit. So this man has a very close relationship with his ex, his first ex, and still a very good relationship with the second mother of his child. And that is why the boy couldn't analyze whether this boy was his brother or his half-brother, because they are functioning as one family. So it's very, it explains things. Here, let me see. People can really show that they are very frustrated or that there are big conflicts in families, but they can also say, voilà ma marraine, my godmother or father. We signify miscarriages, which is usually smaller with a cross. We signify when people have passed away. So I give them like a library of stuff, but very funnily, people often invent their own ways of drawing and expressing, which is great.
So can I just, I've unmuted myself. I was just wondering if you draw the genogram, or if you explain to the family how to draw the genogram, and then they start drawing it, because I think there was one of them that started from left to right. I can't remember which one. So I guess I'm just wondering if you draw it and then they join in.
I don't draw. It's the family who draws. And I sometimes explain that one could be more or less at that height for the grandparents, there for the parents, there for the children. But sometimes people do not. Like here, for example, they've started very high up the page with the grandparents. So sometimes when it's too small, we just add a page. It is nice to see with the family why they start up, or why this person is darker than that person. This, by the way, is a family with a cutoff. So I proposed to them, if they wanted to signify visually the cutoff. These are siblings where 3 talk with each other and 2 talk with each other, but not the 5. I don't know anymore what your question was.
I guess I was just wondering about whether you tell them what all the symbols are, and then they figure it out for themselves as a family. or whether you, because when I've done assessments before, initial assessments when I meet families because their children have got certain difficulties or have different presentations. So I will sit and I will draw the genogram, and they will just tell me who goes where, and whether there's divorce or death within the family. And I will do the whole drawing. But this looks like the family.
Drawing. Okay.
I would do the drawing. So in assessment, I've done assessments.
So
and I live in France.
cadre.
When I lived in the UK, I did assessments with the NHS over there. So I would do assessments and I would draw the whole genogram. And then the families would tell me, rather than getting them to do it, which is what I can see that you're doing.
Yeah, but I think the framework of our work is not the same. I am not assessing. I am giving tools to the family to express their family system. Sometimes it's all askew. That is fine, because it probably expresses something in their perception of their family. And I find it very interesting to see, because I don't know if the boy would have gotten up from behind his chair, making the jewels at all the jewelers in his family, if I'd been the person who made the genogram. They are the actors, which is the whole, it's co-therapy. I'd also tell them, I need you to do our therapy, because I only see part of you. The family knows the family best, and I know my therapy best. And if we want things to move, we need each other. So it's their creations are theirs, and they take them home at the end of the therapy. It's really theirs.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I don't hear you. Grania?
Sorry.
Okay.
There's another question here from Francois. Francois, would you like to actually ask the question yourself, or do you want me to read it?
Thanks, but it's difficult for me in English, but I can try.
Okay.
Thank you.
And if not, I can translate, it's okay.
Yeah, okay. No, I just want to know if it's possible for you to explain if you work more with the group, the family as a group, as a person, and a whole person, or do you work with the individuals, and most of the time with the one?
It depends on the age of the children. I have had a family with 3 adult children, so 5 adults in session, and I have refused a session when the father refused to come, because they are all adults, and if I want the system to change, I need them all 5. But if I have a family with young children, there are subjects that I don't think the children are ready to hear. There are subjects that sometimes concern the couple, that the parents are a marital couple and they are the parental couple. When it concerns the parental couple, I might talk about it in presence with the children. But when it concerns the marital couple, I usually don't.
So you can work with for instance, the person, the child, and his family. So you work, with the kids, or you can work with the family.
Okay, I have received siblings, so brother, sister, on exceptional occasions. But if I receive an adolescent without his parents, that's where it goes askew. So I don't anymore. It's not working. Even when the parents or the adolescent want to come, the adolescent to come alone, it doesn't work. And our teachers say, if someone at the end of the session, with the door open, 4 people have already gone out, and the 5th is, oh, by the way, stop that person, because they will say the thing that the family is not yet putting at the table, but which is crucial. So I stop people who do that. I stop parents who send me a mail without putting the other parent in copy, because I can't work. They like make me lame. It's like as if they cut an arm when they do that. So and it does happen. So I answer to that parent, could you please send this message with my answer to your partner and put us all in copy. Because if not, I cannot work. This will not work.
Thank you.
But when it's parent support, it can be very useful to work with the parents alone, because I am trying to reinforce them as parents, saying you have the right to give limits to your child. Giving limits to your child is also giving love to your child, because there are parents who have been so limited, so mastered by their own parents that with their children they will do the opposite, and the kid gets no limit at all, and the kid goes berserk because a kid needs limits. So they do the opposite of what their parents did, thinking that they do the right thing for their child. So sometimes I need to see with them where this way of dealing with their child comes from, and then help them in putting into place strategies to be a real parent to their child. Sometimes I talk to them about the Faber and Maslisch method. Faber and Maslisch, I think it's an American method that helps parents take their parent role. It's beautiful. Okay, I think that's it.
Okay, Marie-Claire has a question. Would you like to read it? Would you like me to read it for you?
Oh, thank you. Please do so, Grain. You can read it for me.
No problem. Do you use the genogram when you work with all the family as well? And in that case, do all members of the family contribute to draw the genogram freely, or does each of the family have a specific role in drawing the genogram?
When the children are small, sometimes one needs to stop. The child of 3 or 4 years old who will just start drawing, making his gribouillage and make the genogram unreadable. But when it's adolescents and adults, everyone contributes. No, more interesting. When it's parents with children from 10 years on, I ask the parents not to say anything and to have the children start the genogram. Because I'm telling them, I'm interested in knowing what the child knows and perhaps doesn't know. And then afterwards, you can complete. There are parents who cannot shut up. It's sometimes very hard. So, no, the children. Give them the time, and things, it's like very interesting things come out of that. So I have the children typically start, and then I have the parents complete. Even with, I now have a family with 2 girls of 16 and 19. There are things that the girls know that the father doesn't. So it's very enriching. The purpose is also to get the family to move again, because when families are in trouble, they rigidify, they survive, and they do certain things to survive. And if it doesn't work, then they do it even more and even more and even more. And you get these very rigid family structures. So what I'm trying to do is to loosen that structure up and have them look at things in a different way, discover. Also, when you ask people to give the roundabout introduction, parents discover what their kids know or do not know about them or about their profession, which means that the parents get a supplementary information about what their child knows or not. It's very interesting, this circular presentation.
Thank you very much, Els.
Okay.
The next question there is from Marjorie. Marjorie, would you like to read it? Would you like me to read?
I can try.
Okay.
First, thank you for sharing your experience. It's really interesting, and we don't have enough supports, books, or anything about systemics and art therapies, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I was wondering, as you said, when a child is suffering and you're asking if the family is suffering as well, and you suggest the family to come all in therapy, and some of them don't want, some of them agree, and some of them don't want, what do you decide?
It hasn't happened yet.
Okay.
I don't know.
I
don't know. It's
I am facing
this situation.
yeah, like the dad doesn't
What
want
is
to come.
the age of the children?
8 years old and 16.
8 and 16. And are the parents or one of the parents is refusing?
Yeah, like the children comes, the mom is really available and doing her best and very courageous. And the dad can barely say after a long time that he would probably need it most.
He does.
And you see, I feel like the family is just trying to save the dad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's quite difficult. So if you have a suggestion, I'm taking it.
Maybe could you receive the two parents? Would the father agree? Just if it were just the adults, not even?
No.
In what structure do you receive them?
Cabinet.
Privé.
Oui.
If the father really doesn't want to come, there are systemic therapists that say, okay, then we can't come when you are ready. If there is a situation where you are really worried about those who come, or about the person who is not coming, if there's like a real urgent situation, perhaps work with those who come.
Yeah.
Marjorie.
Yeah.
Marjorie, I'd also like to just jut in there if I can, and maybe just it does happen sometimes that one person doesn't want to be part of it, and yes, they are a very important part of the parcel, but it can also be the case that the main, like that there are almost two different systems running. Like one system is the mother and the kids, and they have a whole system, and that might be you can work with issues that they have functioning within themselves. You may not be able to deal with issues related to the other parent. However, you can help them to change how they react with that other parent. But you may find that if it's started, you may draw that other parent in out of curiosity, or you may not, but there may be a certain level that you can get to just with the, a part of the system, which is a system in itself.
Yeah. They keep coming. I mean, they want to keep coming. So I'm working with that system. I didn't put words as you did. Thank you. But I keep working with them. And what I did until now is give another contact and suggest that maybe the dad want to start something in his way, at his rhythm and in his own, maybe he needs to start away from the family for now. That's what I give a contact.
Yeah. I sometimes put a chair for the person who is missing with a piece of cloth or a hat to signify that that person is in our minds.
That's interesting.
Gestalt.
Thank you very much.
Let me see. We've got Christina next. Christina, would you like to read your question? Would you like me to read for you?
I can try. Yeah, I am. Good evening.
Hello.
Presentation. Hello. It's very interesting. I've been working for quite a long years with women mostly with eating disorders. And I was wondering if you have ever worked with adolescents with eating disorders and their families, and if they were followed by other professionals at the time, or if you have been the only one treating this adolescent, and which were the conditions. And
I think that if there is a critical physical situation, severe underweight, I would not take the person alone as the only person offering care. I find that too risky. I have not worked with eating disorders yet. However, I have 2 adult clients who have been anorexic when they were younger. So I think one needs to, it's very hard to do that individually. I would go for teamwork, or several therapists, or a dietist, a psychiatrist, not a psychiatrist, a doctor, a general doctor, because someone needs to take care that physically the person will hold out.
It's a good idea to have a team for sure.
Oh yeah.
But I would include a psychiatrist in many cases
also,
there.
okay.
Yeah. But again, it depends on severity, etc. And there are often comorbidities with eating disorders.
But it's very interesting to have the systemic approach, because often there are very serious traumas in the family.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I feel that in eating disorders, it has a lot of sense, the systemic approach. It is a must, in my opinion, since you have very well explained it with the vessels and the system, no? How the eating disorder is a symptom of family.
Yeah, a very strong one.
Well, in any case, thank you very much for your.
It's like almost the child puts himself in danger in order to signify that something is just not going well. And one of my clients said, and they didn't even see that I was so skinny. It was a girlfriend who told her that she needed to start eating again. Yeah.
Okay. Francois has another question. Francois, would you like to ask the question? Would you like me to ask?
It was not a question, just
oh, sorry.
Playing with
like that. No, it's all right. Just maybe just maybe the question about circle and and other things to represent the circle, to represent women, and yeah, is it not possible to use, I don't know, more creative, and without code, like, you know, the man is like that and the woman is like that?
Sure, but I need a surface. I need to see. I need something in which we can write. So, but yes, it can have, because also there's the gender question now. I mean, sure, pick your shape.
Can I ask one more question? I'm just aware of time as well. Would that be okay? I don't hear, since moving over here, I don't hear very much about safeguarding. And that's where maybe families disclose something, or children disclose something very serious. Maybe it's abuse, or which are, there's so many different kinds of abuses. How do you manage that? How would you deal with it?
It's been very long ago since that I last was like confronted with a situation which I found preoccupying. In France, we go to the CRIP, la cellule de recueil d'informations préoccupantes. But I think now that I would have worked longer with the parents to check if they had an inkling of what was going on with their daughter. The parents almost filed a complaint against me, because I did go to the CRIP. even if they had agreed with it, because yes, what the child put into shape was very suspecting of sexual abuse. It turned out not to be. The CRIP told me, but these are very difficult situations. There are therapists in France who do not dare to go to the CRIP when they are like in their own private little practice, because you can better be insured for suing. But I think institutions are much better places where une information préoccupante, preoccupying information can be transmitted to the authorities. But it's a choice. It's a choice of the therapist how to address this. Do we include the parents in what we see or hear, or do we go to the CRIP or not?
We're going to have a session very shortly, actually, on
Yeah,
safeguarding. But one of the things that I think all therapists and professionals should bear in mind, that there can be no insurance case, when you act in the interests of a child. If you can prove that you're acting in the interests of a child, even though parents may try to react and they may be upset and you may lose clients, they have no case. Okay, all actions with the CRIP and all actions that you're taking with the child should be with their interests at heart. Okay.
Thank you. Okay. Any more questions? It's 9 o'clock. Fast.
Yeah, we generally finish at 9 o'clock. I think that that's all the questions that we have that have been asked. So I think probably what we'll do is we'll leave it there. Are there questions? If there are questions that are that still remain, or that you think about something, you process something, and you've got another question for Els, please reach out to us. And if you don't have Els contact details, if you can't remember, Els, could you put up your contact details again, just at the end here, please? Just
sure,
share.
but we are also all on the site of Sprint.
Yeah, that's true.
Because
actually,
I did not put my telephone number, since it might be
Yeah.
posted on YouTube. So you
Yeah.
can find me on Sprint.
Yeah. Okay. So anyone looking for Els can find her email, or can contact her directly through the Sprint website. Okay. And if you want to know more about Sprint, if you are working in France and you can work with an Anglophone or bilingual population, we would like to hear from you. We do want to meet with other professionals that again share our values and are interested in networking and are interested in sharing information like what we're doing here this evening. Okay, thank you very, very much. We really appreciate everybody coming.
Thank you
if you've
too. And thanks, Sprint.
Yeah, if you've got comments or anything else, please reach out and share. And in the meantime, have a fabulous rest of your week, okay?